I just wanted to welcome Sweta Purohit live again on this channel, and we want to talk a little bit about. Obviously, we are running a workshop on awakening your body wisdom, but I wanted to kind of talk about it from the perspective of how this is really important when you are working on any blocks that you have in life. And what I mean by blocks is when we have these unconscious I'm going to call it a block that is stopping us from reaching goals, whether that is career goals, financial goals, relationship goals. And the big thing that I kind of work around on this is when you also have these unconscious blocks that are stopping you from healing fully. So welcome, Shweta, on this lovely Tuesday morning or afternoon.
Afternoon, yes. Happy lunchtime if we're getting the lunchtime viewers on here. Welcome. Yeah, it's really interesting what we're going to be talking about because we're just delving a little bit deeper from the first Facebook Live that we did about, we talked about the theme of how we hold our issues in our tissues, but also we could be running in autopilot without even knowing it. There's a way of just doing things or being that we are approaching. And when you're doing that, it can feel quite repetitive. It can feel like you're stuck in a cycle, in the rat race, yeah, so to speak. And those cues are also sitting in your body, right? It can also come out in terms of how your embodiment is and how you are then showing up. And where we're talking about is then making the unconscious conscious, right? And what I mean by that is the unconscious side is obviously our belief patterns, our way of doing things, our autopilot mode that just continues. And that's why I call it unconscious, because it's just there, it's running, right? But if we're conscious to that, of why is that driving? Is it driving because, and we talked a bit about this in the previous live, about what is the emotion that's driving that action and that way of being? Is that because you are, led by, oh, got to get this done, got to get this done, or it's got to be perfect, or there's anxiety, or there's frustration, or there's a need for control, and therefore you're blindsided to other sides of creativity? It's just having that awareness. But when we say having that awareness, people do that from here, from the headspace, right? Also having awareness of where that is in your body.
Can I
Yeah.
ask you a question?
Yeah, go for it.
How has it helped you?
How has it helped me? So good question. So for me, it's then making that unconscious conscious is with my voice, for example, and my expression and expressing myself, right? So I always felt I've got to show up in a certain way. I can't be jokey. I can't be myself and how I am. There's got to be a work me and the personal life that's different. And I created this separation, right? And in doing so, I've stifled my own creativity. All right. And I'm kind of noticing it now. It's almost like I've triggered her. It then sits in my throat. And so it starts to maybe clam up a little bit. So this is obviously because I've got that awareness. I do embodiment work. So I have that awareness. I'm like, okay, what is that about? And it's like, okay. It's saying it's got a way of being. It's used to showing up in a certain way. Right? Boss lady. Right? She's used to showing up in a certain way. And it's then working that through my body, of them releasing that and noticing that when that comes up, what is that linked to? There's a fear. What is that fear? Okay, so it's tapping into that. So I'm kind of doing a bit of a live self-coaching session here. So I'll be asking myself, okay, what is that fear that's sitting here? Oh, it's worried that if I say something, they're not going to take me seriously. Ah, okay. So therefore I've got to be serious. And look, even I'm doing that as I'm talking to that, right? So then I've got to release that and be like, okay, well, let's see. Is that true? And move that around, all right? And for me, it's movement. So I'm already starting to sway. You've probably noticed me if you're watching, like I'm swaying, I'm moving that energy. I'm not just leaving it here. Yes, I've noticed that's where it's sitting. So my unconscious, I've made conscious because that's where it's sitting in my body. I'm limiting my expression. But if I start moving that energy a little bit around my body and just moving it a bit down, it's like, okay, all right, well, that's fine. Well, let's see what happens. What does happen when you do just show up in your full authentic self. How is that? And where's a safe way to try that? So then obviously for me, I used my safe ways of doing that to test it. And then it becomes then a way of being. Yeah, because I notice in that energy, I needed to engage the bottom half of my body, really. Right. For me, it's sitting then like I'm swaying here. So it's also releasing the tension in my shoulders, releasing also the tension further down. And then also, I would usually do this standing, I'm sitting, but I'd also be releasing and moving that hip energy and engaging some creativity here. And I'm like, okay, so what it's telling me now, actually, it's all loosened up because I just triggered it. It's the message I'm getting now from my body, just go with the flow.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Right?
Yeah.
Just go with the flow. All right. So this is something where it's going to be, obviously, I've just done a quick thing there and I take clients through it. But that's what I mean about bringing the unconscious conscious. So you saw me there. I did that. I was conscious to, all right, maybe blocking or filtering a bit of my expression here. Okay. Right. Let me move that. And then in the end, I got a message from my body as I kind of went further down, go with the flow. Right. And hey, we're doing a Facebook Live, which is all about going with the flow, right? And having a conversation. It isn't about having a script and being structured. So that wouldn't have served me. And I would have been stuck in a state, right? And I wouldn't be as responsive to Geeta asking me a question. That would have stuck me, right? And that happens to people, stage fright or whatever it might be. And I think that's what we want to demonstrate. And that was quite quick. If you notice how quickly I did that, it is very quickly to change your state using your body. Yeah, because it was
doesn't
pure
have to be
embodiment.
massive. I mean,
No.
we've talked about conscious movement or conscious dancing.
Yes.
It doesn't really have to be an exaggerated movement,
No.
right? It can be whatever is right for you to help you move from that stuck state to something that is getting you into flow. Is that correct?
Absolutely, absolutely. It doesn't, because you could be like, okay, right now I'm in my own personal space, but I could be out in the office. I could be with a client and this is happening. Or I could be just about to run a workshop. So I can't be doing like, hey, going for it. I've got a quick way of doing this, right? So those subtle movements, I could literally just go to the toilet and just get regroup. Or even if I was present, I can just I've done this actually where I've had to give a talk and I started doing a bit of it circling. I was just moving my body, right? And yeah, there's subtle things you can do in the moment. But what we're going to explore, and we're going to be doing this in the workshop, is then we want you to move even further because we want you to get those deeper insights, right? And so it's using the room. Right? So right now I've just done it sitting down, but actually if there was something more and I needed to explore that, I would move around. Right? I'm not having like a little rave in my room or anything like that. It's just to move your body, right? Because then there's I don't want to go into a trance. So this is not about trance. This isn't a dance lesson or anything like that. It's just moving so I can get connected with my body. Yeah. And then just hear another state. What is another state? What is another way of being? And it's shifting there. Right? It's moving from freeze, because if I stayed there and stayed still, that's freeze mode. Right? We got the patterns of flight, freeze, fight, flight, freeze. It's to move that, right? So mine's here, it will go into freeze. Yeah. So obviously, what's to counter that? Move that. Yeah. Or even, or whatever. It's just using that movement and moving around and moving those parts in your body to then show another way of being, and it's really easily accessible, and it's a way of just changing your state. So like the workshop you and I are going to be doing, we're saying awakening to your body wisdom. So you're going to change your state, but if you do this constantly, it then becomes a trait, right? So for me now, I know I can do it quite quickly, right? It doesn't suddenly go away. I guess there's some sort of, people say, oh yeah, but it disappears. They're still there. And it's almost like, it's a safety mechanism that's in our body.
I actually partly think, I've been doing personal development for over 20 years now, and I don't think really, in reality, anything ever goes, because
Yeah.
everything that happens to you is a part of you and has made you who you are in this moment in time. And the whole point of this, sometimes we, especially in times of pressure,
Mm,
those things, they kind of wake up again. And what mastery is being able to then just be able to deal with it and
mm,
go with it and remind yourself, yeah, that was then, and I know how to I know how to behave, I know how to make different choices, and I know how to be right now. So I don't think we can ever get over it. And the funny part is, for me, it's the throat as well. I think it is for a lot of people, and
mm,
I worked on it in a different way.
mm,
And but there are times where it comes back and you're like, okay, it's here. I need to be dealing with this, and I know how I can move it out in my way. And there are other ways as well in being able to move the body and the focus so that you're able to kind of move forward with it and just let it go. So
yeah.
I think that's beautiful. And I'm
Yeah.
sorry on for dropping
Oh
that.
no, it's
I was
fine. It's
just
a good thing I
I
was
was
embodied, right?
but I just thought, as we were talking, and this wasn't planned, by the way, as you were just describing it, it just came up to me was, well, how did it help you? What was it? How does it? How's it helped you in the past, and how do you currently use it? Because
Mm,
being able to the throat chakra, or the part of our expression. This is us expressing ourselves,
yes.
and that comes up in so many. It's not just about public speaking, but think about expressing yourself in your career. Think about expressing yourself in relationships. We're always expressing ourselves, and if
Mm,
that part is blocked and you don't know how to release it, then it could be holding you back in many ways. It's part of creativity as well. It's part of many things. So,
yes.
thank you for just gracefully
No, but
moving
I'm
through.
glad we did that
Yeah.
because that's a good demonstration of how quickly it is to move those energies in your body, how quickly you can change a state. Obviously, like for me, to be fair, I am trained, but even though I've decided to come here. I already knew my state in my body was to go with the flow. But
Mm.
let's say it wasn't. Let's say it wasn't, and it was the other state that came up, and Geeta asked me that question, I would be showing up in a very different way. I would not be vulnerable. That was quite vulnerable, right,
Yeah.
for me to share. Yet, there's a side to me, which is obviously for all of us, right, that wants to keep us safe and secure. And as you said, the throat is a form of expression, right? And this will be like, well, we can't say that. That's going to make you, they're going to think you're XYZ or whatever it is. I'm not really paying attention to at the moment. That's why I'm not vocalizing it. But it would make some stuff about, oh, you can't expose yourself because they go, oh, that's it. I'm hearing what she wants to say because you're weak. We show a weakness,
Yeah.
right? So this is again some sort of story, and it's quite common, particularly for women, to filter their expression. All right. I'm not saying this doesn't happen to men, but it's more so with women, I'm noticing, and obviously, with Asian women too, and in our culture, but more so, for women of feeling we've got to show up a certain way,
Yeah.
feeling we've got to look a certain way, and therefore that transpires in how we express ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's rejection, right? We don't want to be rejected.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
What will
Absolutely.
people think of me? Yeah.
Yes.
Will they accept me? Yeah. So,
Yeah, yeah, all of that is going on. All of that is going on.
mm,
And yet there's a thing where I see so much about mindset coaching. And look, I think that's good, but there's something about connecting with your body, which is, I think, more tangible. You can feel it and you can change your states like quite quickly.
yeah.
And I think that's what really is where that change happens, right? As I said before, to make that unconscious conscious. So you're not really having to, I didn't need to delve that much into the story. That was enough for now
Mm.
to clock it. And then also to be able to change all I've done is change my internal state. right? Could that come up again? Of course, of course. But you almost, the more you do it, like I'm laughing at it now, I've kind of like lessened the power in that in my body, where because the more you do something, the more you're like, oh, okay, you're going there, are you? Okay, well,
Mm.
we'll take a back seat then and let
Yeah.
you do it. But as I got the message, go with the flow,
Yeah.
right? And I think that's what we want to show is that's an embodiment practice, basically, of the way to then listen to your body. That's a simple thing. Listen to your body, listen to the cues, listen to where you're feeling things, and rather than be dismissive, because that could be, I have once actually, being vulnerable here, I have once dismissed and not listened.
Mm.
And in that process, I strained my voice because I
Mm.
was drowning out the wisdom that was coming up because I was like, no, I've got to deliver this talk in this way. And these are the points I need to get across. And I did. And I
Mm.
remember it was recorded and the tone of my voice was very different. So it was
Yeah.
interesting. So I think someone even said, oh yeah, I think my voice was really husky or something. I can't remember, but it was a very different tone,
Yeah.
right? Versus when I was relaxed, my voice tones changes. There's almost also being able to look at yourself and notice those cues and when you're straining a way of being, because you could be forcing it as well. Yeah, because you
Yeah.
talk about us
You
being stuck, but then
yeah.
there's also, because we're so used to a way of being and driving, we're also forcing that, right? And then forcing, it's using that will in that body to just really drive it out rather than being able to just tap into other ways of being and being able to shift that. So we're not so
In our head.
in our heads. That's it. I was pointing every, thank you, in our heads.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I think, and if we're talking about it from a healing perspective, and I'm going to stick to the throat for the moment. It's not all about the throat, by the way.
No, no,
It's
no.
it's other
Yeah.
things that happen in your body as well. But when I'm working with people who have thyroid dysfunction,
Mhm.
and I dig deeper, of course, there's the nutritional part and there's the toxic part of what's going on, the stress and adrenal part. But when we go a little bit deeper, there's a part of lack of self-expression in their life, in probably the most important areas of their life. But sometimes people don't see it. They don't either, they've buried it so deep that they don't realize it, or they think it's normal. And I just think that when you start to marry these things together of, what's going on and what's really underneath that, because you feel that constriction. Yeah. So
Mm,
you feel
mm,
you feel your body go into kind of hold, constrict it and tighten it, and that's where you don't get flow. You don't get flow when you tighten up. You get flow when you let go. So
mm.
I just wanted to talk about a little bit about the workshop, which is happening on Sunday, the
19th of May.
19th of May. Thank you. Sunday, the 19th of May, from 12 noon to 3 p.m. in Northwood. It's a 3-hour workshop where we take you through. It's a workshop, so there's going to be some self-review, self-assessment on some key areas of your own life. Where do you feel that constriction? So we're gonna guide you through processes where you get to understand, for you, where are you feeling that pressure and that constriction, and then we're going to guide you through how to let it go through conscious movement, through meditation, through self-assessment and self-review. And it's a really, really beautiful um, workshop done in a way that is going to be no self-judgment,
No.
just being kind to yourself and being aware of what's going on in your body and possibly what's going on in your mind as well, because we do talk about being in the head, which most people are, but how do we get from the head to the heart? How do we really start to get that communication going? So
Yeah, I love
Eat it.
what you've said there, and I think it's going to be a very immersive, active 3 hours that we'll have together. It
Yeah,
will involve a lot of movements and various also super consciousness work that I will be bringing in and techniques. But our end result is for you to see what your natural internal flow is. What is your creative flow? Where does that sit in your body? And then for the rest of the year, how then that you could be flowing in that way with your desires, with your goals, and also looking a bit deeper into that. So yeah, I think we're going to put a link, aren't we, to this Facebook Live,
yeah,
more detailed. And then also feel free to get in touch with either myself or Gita if you want to find out more before you book.
yeah. There's an early bird discount.
Yes.
So check the details where you will get £10 off the price. And yeah, so we really look forward to seeing you. If you have any questions, please do ping myself or Shweta. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this session today. I did. Thank you, Shweta, once again.
Thank you.
And we shall see you soon. Take care. Bye.
Bye for now.